What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another FPL video on Fantasy Football Scout. Today we're doing Transfer Watch ahead of Game Week 12. So in this one, we're always looking at the most transfer players in, some of the most transfer players out, and talking about whether people are making the right mistakes. Should they be buying these players? Should they be selling? Maybe it's worth keeping. Maybe it's worth just ignoring those players altogether. In this one, we're going to talk about that. There's 3 players in there. One, maybe not surprising, being transferred in. Obviously, it was a bit of a good week all round, really. So many of the premium players did well. De Bruyne, Salah, Son, Kane, even Fernandes came on for 45 minutes and absolutely smashed it as well. Only got 6 points, but it could have been a lot more. So lots of players doing well, and therefore there's a good bit of knee-jerking going on, I would say. So let's jump into it with the first player. We'll go through the one transferred in heavily first, and then take a look at the ones being transferred out. So the market isn't actually moving that quickly in terms of transfers in, but Salah has had 90,589 already, at least at the time that I'm recording this. And ahead of a great Game Week 12 fixture basically against Fulham. He's given us a timely reminder of what he can do against Wolves with a 14-pointer. And I think sometimes the standards for Salah are so high, we almost underestimate and forget about what he can do, and people will try and ignore him. And he always reminds us how good he is, right? And Fulham away up next, I think looks like the standout captaincy pick, because Spurs have got Palace away. Now, that's not necessarily a bad fixture. Palace are not keeping many clean sheets at all. But I don't think it's as good as playing Fulham, or at least I don't think it's as good as captaining Salah. And obviously the other players that are in our teams quite heavily at the moment, De Bruyne and Fernandes, for example, they're playing each other. You know, Newcastle might play West Brom, but there's a chance that's still off. I don't think the training ground is even open yet. So that takes Wilson out of the equation. So Salah looks pretty good if you don't want to captain Kane or Son versus Palace, right? So arguably the standout captaincy pick, which is why a lot of people are going for him. And he's also arguably the standout pick in Game Week 15 as well against West Brom. You've got Palace and Spurs. I'm just checking there. Palace and Spurs between that. So obviously Spurs is tough. As I've just said, Palace have been conceding quite a few goals and not keeping many clean sheets. And the fixtures basically between now and over Christmas are just really good for Salah. It's a great time to be bringing him in ahead of a captaincy fixture, but also having really good fixtures you want to play him into. He also plays Newcastle, Southampton and Burnley. Now, there's always going to be rotation worries over Christmas. I think for the last few years, we've said on things like the Scoutcast and stuff, it's not really been as bad as everyone makes out every single year. And Salah, I double-checked. So in Game Week 15 last year, he was benched. But you got to remember, Game Week 15 was a little bit earlier last year because the season started a bit earlier. And then after that, I think that was on the 4th of December, he basically played every single game, or started every single game up until like March. I didn't check further than that. So we didn't really get too many rests over Christmas last year. So I'm not really worried this year. And that West Brom game comes 8 days after the previous game. And he's probably going to get a rest in the Champions League as well. So, I mean, I feel like I shouldn't even be trying to sell Salah to you. It's Mo Salah. He's been the best player the last 3 years. Slightly beaten by De Bruyne last year, of course, but still right up there. And it looks like he's going to be again. And I think in a 4-3-3, we saw Klopp play that last night against Wolves. He's first choice. We know that. Jota's probably going to be the one that misses out at times. The only difference between last year and this year is they can bring Jota in. So will Mane and Salah maybe miss more minutes than they previously had, potentially. But I would be surprised if Salah doesn't start one game. If it's one game he doesn't start, fair enough. Any more than that, I'd be extremely surprised. And so he just looks like a great player to bring in. It's difficult because obviously you've got to take out a big hitter to do it, right? Maybe it's De Bruyne, Fernandes, Kane, Son, and they've all just scored really well. But I just think with the captaincy there and all the other good fixtures they got, this looks like a no-brainer. And that 90,000 is going to increase massively before the deadline, I would say. So a few weeks ago, we had Ziyech on these videos, over 300,000 transfers in, and now he's got over 200,000 transfers out this week. He went pretty close to scoring, to be fair, against Leeds. I see him as a kind of player that's going to assist most of the time, doesn't really get too many shots in the box, but he did come close. Unfortunately then for owners, he got injured, right? I think it was a hamstring injury. We don't know if he's 100% out of Game Week 12 yet. He's not been kind of ruled out completely, but there is obviously a chance that happens. And with Everton coming up next, that is a good fixture, right? Everton are not keeping any clean sheets at all recently. They've got defensive problems themselves, and so that is a pretty good match. But for me, I don't own him, but I feel like a lot of owners were looking for an excuse to sell. They maybe wanted to sell and they've had other transfers to do, or they weren't quite sure, but they were waiting for something to come around to sell him. And I feel like this is it, right? Because there is a chance he misses out, so you'd want to sell him. And Chelsea's fixtures are okay. I don't think they're brilliant, but they're not bad at all. I think I've said that before over Christmas, and he's pretty much nailed start when he's fit. But we are at a time right now in midfield where, you know, some people have got De Bruyne, Fernandes and Salah, and they're still trying to fit in Son, still trying to fit in Kane. there's lots of players, a lot of premium players to go for, where Ziyech just doesn't feel like someone you want to carry in your team at 8.2 million. It's just a little bit too much. Like if he was like 7 or 7.5, it might be a little bit easier to swallow. But at 8.2, let's say you've got like a Vardy in your front line, you downgrade him, you go Ziyech to Salah, Ziyech to De Bruyne, maybe next week, whoever it might be that you don't own. And I feel like that's why people are getting rid. And also there's a lot of moves to get Grealish. And Grealish is also one of the most transferred midfielders in. And obviously that looks great. He just had a bit of a break because he didn't get to play in game week 10, or game week 11, I should say. And then ahead of game week 12, he's got Wolves, just conceded 4 to Liverpool. Not saying that Villa will do the same kind of job to them, but it's a good fixture for him. And then the fixtures after are really good. I think it's Burnley, West Brom and Crystal Palace. So he's got a good run. And obviously over Christmas as well with Grealish, he's going to play 90 minutes. There's speculation about whether he's on penalties now. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, Watkins has missed 1 out of 2 for Villa, but he's missed 4 out of his last 6. So I don't know what the manager will do, because you're kind of saying to your striker, who did take a pretty good first penalty for Villa, well, that's it. You miss 1, you're completely off of them. So they might give him another go. I don't think it's as easy to say Grealish is now on them. Like, it could be Barkley as well. He's got a pretty good record, I think, for Everton, and he's taken some for Chelsea as well. So a lot of people are moving to Grealish. I can see that, and a lot of people are maybe downgrading a big hitter up front to go to like a Salah or whoever this week, and that feels like a good move. Like, one of the moves I've seen a lot is Kane and Ziyech, or Vardy and Ziyech, to Bamford and Salah. And that, to me, with Leeds' run, that just feels like a no-brainer. So we don't know if Ziyech is 100% out, but I don't think people are going to be punished by selling. So I think this is a good move. I think you can sell Ziyech. I think whether you go to Grealish or you go to a big hitter, it looks pretty good. And given the fact he might even miss game week 12, it just makes it even better. So Walker not massively transferred out, but one of the most transferred out defenders this week, 33,998. And what do we say every year? Don't try and second guess Pep Guardiola. What do we do every year? We try and second guess Pep Guardiola, right? And it always goes wrong. And I have to admit, and I think most people would agree, did not see a Walker benching this week. Cancelo played in the Champions League again. Zinchenko played left back in the Champions League. All of us thought Walker right back, Mendy left back. Who knows in the defence, like Stones, Diaz. We thought, most people thought Diaz would play. I couldn't believe it, to be honest, when I saw Walker wasn't even in the squad. And as far as I'm aware, there's no injury there, right? It's just given a bit of a break. Now, perhaps that's because he's played so many minutes in the league, right? He hasn't not started a game until game week 11. So going forward, he still feels like a good option. Although, I don't know what now happens in the Champions League, because you'd think he would start there. He's not going to miss 2-3 games in a row. That would be a little bit odd. So he's probably going to get some minutes in the Champions League. And then you've got to think, if that happens, does that mean Cancelo is going to play against Man United? I'd be surprised. Like, I thought Walker would be a better bet there, but maybe I've got it wrong. Maybe Cancelo on the right benefits Mahrez a little bit more. It's hard to say, but if you've already gone for Walker, I'd be tempted to keep, I think. So 6.2 million is quite a lot of money, first of all. So you can get Diaz for a little bit cheaper. Chilwell's around the same price. Reece James is cheaper. Obviously, Spurs are keeping quite a few clean sheets. All their defenders are cheaper as well. So I don't think it's a bad move to get rid of him. But after Man United, if he keeps getting the minutes we've seen before, where he's starting every single league game, then the fixtures are great, right? They're fantastic. And maybe this isn't the time to use a transfer out. The only worry is for all the fullbacks are, I guess with Champions League, it's very easy for Pep to rotate a player out for Champions League and then rotate them back in for the Premier League. But obviously over the next few weeks, there's quite a few games in quick succession. At least, you know, when we get to like the Christmas period, like Boxing Day, the 28th, there's a game, and there's another one a few days later. At that point, there's no Champions League, so we might start rotating in the league. So we could see Cancelo, Zinchenko, Mendy and Walker all kind of share minutes over Christmas. So I can see a reason to keep him, because Man City's fixtures are just that good, and he has started so many games. He's obviously been doing something right. And I don't think he's really, like Laporte, there's a lot of rumours going around that maybe he's basically not being scapegoated, but made an example of for mistakes against Spurs. I don't really feel like Kyle Walker has done that. So I don't know if Pep is trying to, you know, teach him a lesson as well, and for the rest of the squad, you know, throw out some kind of message. But it feels like an old one. But at 6.2 million, I do think there are better value defenders. But if he gets a lot of minutes over this Christmas time, there's so many good fixtures. So I wouldn't necessarily be rushing to get rid of him, but I can see why people are doing it. I don't think it's a mistake, but I do think you can make a good case to hold on to him for now. So there we go. We're talking about some of the most transferred players in, most transferred players out. What to do with them? Are people making a mistake or not? Should they be buying? Should they be selling, etc.? Let me know in the comments below what you think of these three players. And also let me know which players have you already bought? I'm sure some of you already made some transfers, or who are you eyeing up? Are you looking to get Salah in? Are you maybe looking to get Grealish back? Is Jota still an option even though you got benched against Wolves? Let me know in the comments below. Do hit a like on the video if you've enjoyed it, and subscribe if you're new around here. We'll be back with this video next week and every week this season. Obviously, we'll have captaincy and scoutcast tomorrow, points predictions, team selections, all that normal stuff coming throughout the week. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell, and I'll catch you again soon.